Hey, this is Paul Terry Walhus. We're here at the Twestival, and I've got Jason Stoddard with me. He's with Stagira Inc.
That's it.
Didn't Stagira have something to do with Aristotle or something like that?
Absolutely. I'm glad that you asked. Yes, Stagira is the birthplace of Aristotle, also pronounced Stagira. So, I figured that nobody would be able to pronounce it. That might be a mnemonic device so people would remember it, and it's my company, so I'll name it what I want, so suck it.
And tell me what you guys do. We're here at Twestival.
Absolutely.
What have you been enjoying Twestival today?
Yeah, Twestival's awesome. Yeah, I think that the second event of any event franchise is probably the most important. And we've got a great crowd out, a core crowd that always supports the social community. And I'm seeing a lot of new faces as well, which is great. And so far as that means there's going to be a lot of residual interest moving forward in supporting local causes and the local social media scene. So good stuff.
You have some kind of role in the Twestival today?
A little bit. Typically what I like to do is kind of be under the radar and facilitate fundraising amongst some of the entrepreneurs that aren't necessarily into the social scene, by way of a phone call and email. So those should be coming live probably in about the next 12 to 24 hours.
All right, great. And tell us about Stagira Inc. and what that's all about.
Well, the whole idea of Stagira Inc. is basically my justification of a philosophy degree. In all seriousness, we're one of the first ubiquity brand marketing companies in Austin, and the way that we differentiate ourselves is by really focusing on identity and purpose first, and bridging to a fourth sector model for either enterprise or sole proprietors.
Now, go into a little more depth on the identity thing. What's that all about?
Well, if you look at the value hierarchy, according to Western philosophy dating all the way back to Aristotle, typically every idea starts with metaphysics. And then that begets epistemology, which begets ethics, which begets politics, which begets aesthetics. And so many times, whether it's enterprise or whether it's a sole proprietor entrepreneur, I see their propensity to immediately want to go to the tactical, and I see them burn a lot of money on something that's basically a spray and pray campaign. And my focus is let's identify who and what you are. Let's identify what your actual purpose is in the marketplace of ideas and exchange, and then let's develop accordingly, as opposed to immediately going to the tools and the tactics.
You threw 5 terms together there that would be sound great in a philosophy class.
Sure.
But they're a little over the head of some people. So can you bring it more down to earth? When you said it, epistemology breeds whatever.
Okay, so in the context of a market, typically anytime you make a decision within the marketplace, it usually requires the most knowledge that's humanly possible. And in the case of the philosophical value hierarchy, epistemology is knowledge and research. Ethics is culture and behavior. Politics is engagement and strategy. And then the aesthetics is actionable design. The metaphysics is the identity and the purpose. Basically who and what you are and the reality of the marketplace.
Now, have you expounded these ideas anywhere where people can read about them or anything?
So the site went live about 6 weeks ago, the website, which is stagirainc.com. And a week and a half ago, I hosted Ubiquity Marketing on Summit here in Austin. And a lot of the programming kind of focused on this value hierarchy and doing first things first. To answer your question directly, I'm developing that content. And I think over time, I'm just basically going to put it out and probably try to consolidate a lot of those concepts and ideas into a book.
How'd that marketing summit go? Do you have a good turnout? And how are the speakers? Could you give us the highlights?
It was great, yeah. As far as the Unsummit, we had roughly 25 speakers. The keynote was presented by Chris Brogan, which was called The Possibility of Trust. And then, of course, there was a lot of thought leaders that reside here in Austin, including Bill Leak, Michelle Greer, Paul Janowitz, who I think you spoke with a little bit earlier. I know I'm going to forget somebody. I'll run down the list. Paul Janowitz. Then there was Kim J. Wilson from Green Lights for Nonprofit Success. There was David Neff of American Cancer Society and Lights Camera Help. Just a whole host of really great content, really great speakers. And with regards to the turnout, soup to nuts, I announced that I was having an Unsummit and then actually had the Unsummit in 6 weeks. And we had about, based on my record, we had 106 people show up. Of those, 75 paid to get in. And despite the fact that Austin is somewhat diluted with events, it was a success. It was my first event that I'd ever hosted, and it was a hell of a great time. And,
How'd you? Oh, go ahead.
well, it was a hell of a great time, and I lost about 12 pounds because I pretty much did everything myself, but I learned a lot, and I think we identified a couple of niches in the market in order to drive transactional business in Q4 and then into 2010 to not only do good for our balance sheet, but also do good for the nonprofit community here in Austin.
Now, what's on your calendar for the next few months? What do you got penciled in as far as events, projects, that kind of thing?
Well, I've got a couple of side projects that I'm planning to go live with probably in January, so there's going to be a lot of ramp up to that. One is shortorderphoto.com, which is basically an alternative to the legacy stock photography model. And then another thing that I'm kind of keeping under wraps that I'm calling Milo and the Magic Quilt, which is basically a website that's geared for children.
Great. Any more Unsummits in the outlook? How'd you come up with that name also?
I like the idea of ubiquity because it's something more than integrated marketing, and with the proliferation of social media, you're finding that essentially everybody's a marketer, and you have the opportunity to touch a lot of different people. And in touching a lot of different people, you get a lot of diversity in how people tell your story and sing your song. So that, to me, if you look at maybe something not unlike the Master or the Christ, the channels that Christ used in telling his message, that was pretty ubiquitous. As far as marketing, that speaks for itself. As far as Unsummit, that speaks for itself. Basically, we wanted to focus on whatever organically happened then and there, at the Unsummit. And to answer your question, as far as how many Unsummits, or if we're going to have Unsummits here shortly, a couple of municipalities and chambers and other secondary and tertiary markets have reached out and said, hey, we're always asked to go to your town, or we're always asked to go to LA or San Francisco or New York or Chicago. Why don't you, do a road show and bring some of the content to us? So we're working to do just that in January, February, March, and then, maybe if we get some legs and some momentum, just taking it from there.
Great. You're a living example of somebody who got what most people would consider a useless degree and actually turned it into something.
Well, I think that maybe this is like the meta response, but I think that critical thinking is...
I'm not saying I think that. I'm just saying that a lot of people think that, What the hell do you do with a philosophy degree, right?
Well, and typically the joke is that it's a prerequisite to the unemployment line is what you do with a philosophy degree. But, I think that the way that you see the world, it's not unlike going to law school, right? Many law students have said that as they go through the process and methodology, and the process of being vetted in law school, that their thinking changes and the way that they see the world changes. And I think that philosophy really allows you to critically review where the opportunities are, and frankly, I think a philosophy degree should be the prerequisite to entrepreneurialism.